And we are live. What's going on, Chicky?
Not much. Um, just making it through hump day, trying to get through this week, child.
Oh, girl, I'm so ready for the weekend. So,
Me
so
too. I live for the weekend though, and I don't know
work.
why, because I'm
Um,
still busy on the weekend.
yes. Oh, I don't know. It's like this week I am just extra freaking drained. Like I'm tired of shit. So
Yeah,
it's like,
I
damn,
have
bring on the weekend.
weeks like
Yes.
that too. I'm like, I need a
I had,
vacation.
girl, shoot. I had to take the day off earlier this week, so I am just kind of like, F it all. Let me just sit down somewhere.
hmm Are you looking forward to Valentine's Day?
Yes, very much so. I still hadn't got Curlin's gift yet, so
Uh oh.
I'm gonna be running like hell tomorrow.
Oh.
And then I think I don't know, I wouldn't call it an interview, but I'm supposed to be featured on the Prophet of Thought tomorrow.
Okay. What's that
So
about?
he said something about dark truths for the ladies, and it's me, Asada Muhammad,
hmm
and a special surprise guest.
Oh,
So
okay.
I am really, really looking forward to seeing what that's going to be about.
Well, that should definitely be interesting. I have been noticing that they have been going in on my brown sisters. I'm feeling some type of way. I am slightly triggered, and I haven't even listened to. I listened to a little bit of Fantastic's initial
Honey,
stream. Can you hear me?
yeah, I can now.
Oh, hold on. Let me change positions. I have 3 bars, but can you hear me? Is it still okay?
Yeah, you sound good.
Okay. But I was just saying, I've been triggered by, all the negative streams that have been going on in reference to dark skinned women. So I don't know what it's all about, but I'm like, well, dang, they going in on my brown sisters.
I didn't get it. I was on Fantastic's panel for a hot second,
hmm
but I didn't stay. I didn't get a chance to stay very long because I was busy with my son. So it's like, I want to go back and listen to it, but they had Rashida Strober up there, and
Oh, interesting. I bet that was an interesting panel.
yeah, honey, I guess it was because the way it seemed like they went in.
Uh-oh, I'm sure they did. I know Fantastic has some very strong views as it relates to dark skinned women. It seems like he's had some negative experiences with dark skinned women. But I'm more middle of the road. I'm definitely not a Rashida Strober. I don't think that dark skinned women are just constantly being attacked and everything that happens in the media. It's an attack on dark skinned women, nor do I think that dark skinned women are victims, but I certainly don't think that we're everything negative that I'm seeing men in the manosphere make us out to be either. So we might have to get into that, or maybe one of our topics will delve into something surrounding that. I'm tired of the colorism debate, but I also don't want to see dark skinned women, the character of dark skinned women being
Uh-oh.
assassinated. Can you hear me,
Yeah, now
Danny?
I can.
Oh, sorry. And I
Yeah, I
don't like
can.
the generalizations and them lumping us all together. So I don't know. Maybe we'll get a chance to talk about that one of these days.
Yeah, we're gonna have to definitely watch the stream because
Yeah.
yeah, honey, I heard some I heard some breakdowns of it myself, and I was like, yikes, what
Oh
is
my
going
gosh.
on? So
Yeah, that's a hot topic right now. I just, and I haven't had a chance to listen to his full stream. I listened to it for just a few minutes. I literally am always like moving a million miles a minute, so I don't get to listen to streams the way that I would like, especially the long ones. But I do want to try. Maybe I'll listen to one of the other streams that breaks it down that are a little bit shorter.
Okay, okay. So let's get into this topic, honey.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Pookies and the Ray Rays and the
Mm-hmm.
educated lames, but
Mm-hmm.
let's talk about the middleman, the guy
Yeah.
in the
Well,
middle. What do you?
mm-hmm. So yeah, like you said, I mean, we constantly talk about Pookie and Ray Ray. Educated lames have been talked about for years, and I think that we're leaving out, in my opinion, a big portion of the black male population because I think that most black men fall somewhere in the middle. I don't think that most men are thugs or street thugs or hood boogers or anything like that, and I don't think that most men would classify themselves and or would generally be classified as an educated lame. I think most men are, in the middle. And I think that we are omitting a huge segment of the black male population when we have these conversations that are so specific to one group over another. And you don't rarely hear it, you don't really hear rarely hear the guy in the middle being talked about. So we figure we gonna talk about him tonight.
Okay. So do you think that a lot of the guys in the middle have the same or some of the same ideologies as the educated lame? Well, I kind of feel like they have some of the ideologies of the educated lame, and I also think they have some of the same ideologies as Pookie and Ray Ray in a certain sense.
Well,
Um,
I think this is a good place to start. Like, why don't we define what we see? Because we do the nuance thing over here. We talk about our own personal experiences and what we see. That's generally what we pull from in our discussions. So why don't we start by defining who the guy in the middle is? Like, who do you see as the guy in the middle, or can you put that into words? And then I'll go after you.
I would say that the guy in the middle probably did get he did finish high school. Um he possibly had both parents in the house. Um he was probably one of the cool kids, but not necessarily the guy who got all the hoes. Um I would see the guy in the middle as somebody who probably works a decent job, but he may not be making six figures. Um, what else do I think about the guy in the middle? Probably somewhat laid back, probably really into sports. Um, at least that's what I've noticed about guys who
Mm,
seem to be in the middle.
okay. Well, I want to say that I've had a lot of experience, I'd say, with the guy in the middle. The guy in the middle is, my cousins, my brothers. I've dated the guy in the middle. Like, the guy in the middle to me is a lot of what you've said. The guy in the middle is, he can go, either way. The guy in the middle might have a trade or some sort of specific skill. The guy in the middle likely graduated from high school, probably has a fairly decent job. He may be a UPS worker, he may be a truck driver, he could be a plethora of things. He may be a skilled tradesman. The guy in the middle may have a little bit of hood in him, and he might be a little bit educated, or maybe he's gone to college but didn't finish. So I think the guy in the middle is generally like middle of the road, and the guy in the middle can kind of swing either way. He's probably, maybe he grew up in the hood, but now he lives in a maybe middle class area. I think that the guy in the middle probably has experience and or ties to both educated lames and the hood guy. He might have some friends from both sides of the track. The guy in the middle is generally hardworking, take care of his family, trying to do the right thing, but he hasn't fallen victim to maybe things that the hood guy has. However, maybe he didn't have the resources
The
to go
Pookie
to
filter.
school. Yeah. The Pookie hood guy. Maybe he didn't have the resources to go to school. I think that a lot of the people that I see in this space or that I interact with probably fall somewhere around the guy in the middle. They might not be what we would deem as quote unquote educated lanes.
Yeah. I also, even with the guy in the middle, his social skills might be a little bit better than the educated lane, in my
Mm.
opinion.
Mm. Yeah, like that's a good one. And even when I think about it, I think a lot of the guys that we've conversed with on the panel, I like probably they're probably like the middle of the road guy, and I think they probably are more comfortable, having conversations and or dialogue with women and things of that nature because, like I said, they probably grew up in the hood. They might be. They befriended these women. They're a little bit more confident in themselves and their abilities than maybe the educated lane. But I also think that the guy in the middle probably could network in either space. He may be accepted into the hood, but he might be able to go to your company Christmas party too. So, and I think, like I'm saying, most black men probably fall in that middle category. I don't think most black men are hood boogers. Like I've heard people in this manosphere almost kind of relegate most black men to hood guys, and all that those are the guys that black women are going after, are the hood guys who don't want anything in life. I think most of the guys that are in the black community are just like middle of the road, your typical middle of the road hardworking black men.
So, do you think in this space, because in this space, it seems to be two types of guys. You either have the educated lane or you have the thug.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, goddamn,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think everybody fits into one category, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. And
You
I
know what I
think
mean?
because we have kind of relegated black men to one category or the other, I think a lot of the guy in the middle or middle of the road guys are probably lumped into and or follow the educated lame crowd because they know we're not really hood guys. They go to work every day. They get up every day. They're not trapping on the street corners. But I think that by default they have kind of been lumped in with the educated lames when they're really regular, just middle of the road guys. I even when you think about somebody like Obsidian technically would not be an educated lane. He would be a middle of the road guy. He's a skilled tradesman. So he would be what we would consider someone that's middle of the road, not at all an educated lane.
You know what I think? I think
Hmm.
Obsidian would be king of the educated lanes in a certain sense.
How is that? Because he's not educated. He literally was a skilled tradesman.
But
Working class. He was a working class man.
but um okay, like with Obsidian, I would kind of think that um hmm with Obsidian is educated in a sense that he still he reads, he writes, and
Oh
he writes
yeah.
extensively.
Hmm.
Um but I think he can relate to both in a certain sense, but I think he would fall more under the educated lame as opposed to me he would be more so on the side of the educated lame more so than the guy in the middle.
So for me, Obsidian is very well read. He's extremely articulate. He's well read than some college educated men that I've come across. But I think that, he enjoys, seeking his own knowledge and reading. And also he enjoys knowing something that other people don't know. So I think that that's just part of his narcissism. But I think that, technically, there may be. Okay, so I don't necessarily think that Obsidian may be like the preferred type that many women would go after. However, by definition, he would still fall into that regular working class man. He's just he's smart. He doesn't have a lot of formal education, but he's an intelligent man. But I think that there are tons of working class, middle of the road men who are extremely educated, well read, that just enjoy seeking knowledge and taking in knowledge. So, I mean, I personally would qualify him as, and he said it himself that he's a blue collar guy. He's a working class guy. So, I mean, I would consider him, a middle of the road guy. He just has
Okay.
those narcissistic traits that a lot of educated lames have too. So it's kind of like, yeah, he has that cockiness about him that a lot of them have.
So, do you think the educated lame is more narcissistic than the Pookie and Ray Ray?
What I think is that a lot of the educated lames, because of the rejection that they faced from the Black community at large, now they feel as though they're in a position of power, and because of that, they want to wield that power and kind of um, hold themselves at this on a pedestal, as if they have something that other people don't, because there was a point in time when they were picked on for not having what most men had, which might be considered as swag or the it factor. So they didn't have that, so they were teased. Now they have this knowledge, which with the knowledge comes for some of them power, because they might be in positions of power. They have like education, which with that comes assets and finances. So now they have something that women want, when back in the day they didn't. So they use that to their advantage, and to some of them it goes to their heads.
Okay. Okay. Um, I'm reading some of these comments, and it got me
Mm-hmm.
laughing. I put Fran Drescher as my name because people say my voice is
Oh yeah.
hella annoying.
Oh wow. I wouldn't say that. I don't think it's annoying at all. Mr. Marrying Man is funny. Yeah.
Yeah, so think that most women, at least down here, I think that the guy in the middle gets to be a culprit of a lot of things that people don't necessarily call out. What do you think about that? Like,
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that the people in this space like to relegate baby making and degeneracy to only educated lames. When I think about the women in my life who maybe are single, with single moms, and maybe the guy isn't involved, or the guy does not have like favorable character, like most of them are working class. Like they're not guys in the hood. Like, to be completely honest with you, a lot of the hood guys that I know in the house with their children, they are like good fathers, and they actually show up, and like they're still, they're very active in their children's lives. A lot of them have been with their baby mamas since they were 14, 15. So I see more like working class men, or even some educated guys. Like, even when you think of working class, I think of even like military men would be what I would consider middle of the road
yes,
for the most part.
yes, I definitely agree with that. I definitely agree with that. Um, I think, like, what do you think is some things that get blamed on the Pookie and the Ray Ray? Because I think Pookie and the Ray Ray do take the bulk of the blame for a lot of the problems that middle of the road guys don't get the blame for.
Um, Mainly the baby making thing. I don't think that it's just there are Pookie and Ray Ray that are contributing to you know single motherhood, that are contributing to the situation that we have in our community, with low marriage rates, and an abundance of children who aren't being raised in the homes with both parents. I don't think that we could even say that Pookie and Ray Ray are in the top percentile for regarding blame, as it relates to blame for that. I think that it would be hard to quantify on either side, but I think that from my personal experience, I see regular guys being baby daddies, or create. I don't want to say creating baby mamas, because both of them, generally it's a mutual decision to have unprotected sex, and as a result, a child is born. But I think that I see both, and I see, in my own personal experience, I see more regular working class men that have children, and they aren't in the home with the children.
Yeah, I see a huge number of that. As a matter of fact, I would I would consider my son's father a middle of the road type of guy, but he's educated, but he wasn't
Mhm.
necessarily lame. You know what I mean? But he wasn't a Pookie and a Ray Ray, and we have a child. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. And my ex would fall into the same category too. So, I mean, yeah, I don't. I mean, I don't think that it's a problem that we could just say hood guys are to be faulted for. I'm trying to think of something else that I would say that gets blamed on Pookie and Ray Ray. That I mean, I think that the main thing that we kind of agree that's like the driving force in the state of the Black community and its disrepair is single motherhood. So that's the biggest thing, and that's what sticks out to me. But
Hmm. As it pertains to relationships and stuff, right?
hmm
So Black women do tend to get a bad rap for choosing Pookies and Ray Rays to mate and procreate with, right?
hmm
And even when choosing a guy for looks and stuff like that, it's like most men think that we're attracted to Pookies and Ray Rays.
hmm
And I would say that most women I know are attracted to a middle of the man type of guy.
me too.
And so it's just real interesting. But I think that most women I know that have been played by not a Pookie or a Ray Ray, although they do it. But I think
Yeah.
the middleman can get about 60% of that because I think that a lot of women choose middle of the road men, but when
hmm
you get played, then a lot of guys will say, you know what, you should have chose better. And it's like,
hmm
well, he had a job, he had a car, he had his own place to stay, he didn't have a
Yeah.
bunch of baby mamas. What's up? You know
Well,
what I'm saying?
I'm gonna say something that's probably not gonna go over really well,
Oh shit.
but honest. I think that the Pookie and Ray Ray type, generally, when you think of the Pookie and they have some sort of criminal background. And as a result, they probably
Hmm.
cannot, get housing on their own and things of that nature. So Pookie and Ray Ray are more apt to stay around, if for nothing else. Maybe they need a place to stay. Maybe, you know what I mean? Like they can't, obtain their own housing because they have a criminal record and things of that nature. Whereas a working class guy, he doesn't necessarily have to be there.
Yeah, yeah,
So I think
that's
that that's
definitely.
something that's isn't considered too. But I do think. Okay, let me ask you something. When you think of the educated women or the women with careers that um, how many of them would you say, like what percentage, have children with like street thugs or the Pookie and Ray Ray type versus those that have children with a working class man?
Um, and I'm going off of my own demographics, which I am here in Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
And if I had to break down like all of my friends and associates with kids, and let's just
Mm-hmm.
say out of 10 friends, right, I would say that two would have children, career women that would have
Mm-hmm.
children with somebody that would be considered a Pookie and a Ray Ray. Now,
Mm-hmm.
the thing about it is, I guess there's levels to the shit. So my friends didn't date like the corner boys, so to speak,
Mm-hmm. I
but
get what you're saying.
they did date guys who still lived a fast life, but these are
Right,
the
right.
guys that you see on the corner in the hood with
Yeah.
jeans hanging off their ass and shit like that. So
hmm Okay.
yeah,
I mean,
I
yeah, I would have to say too. Um, all of the women that I know with actual careers, high or college graduates, things of that nature, that have kids with thugs, I would say it's probably maybe 30%. Now, I mean, for a specific reason I didn't include all the women that because I'm thinking like if of the women that I know, if they also live in the hood, then I think about proximity, that
Yeah.
it's likely that they're going to, and I don't know what would even set them apart from, the Pookies and Ray Ray. So I didn't include them. But when I think about career women, most of the women that I know have children with and or are married to or with either educated lanes or working class, mostly working class men.
Yeah. So in this space, it seems like we separate the guys in just to two types of dudes. You either have the
Mm-hmm.
educated lane where you have the Pookie and the Ray Ray, but then when I go through the space and I talk to a lot of the guys, I think a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the guys here fall within the middle range, but it seems as though, well, I don't know, I don't know why. Would you say
Mm-hmm.
would you say that the within the manosphere and within this space,
Mm-hmm.
would you say, and just for an example, well, I don't want to use that because that's not going to be good, but would you say which ideologies do you think most of the guys in the manosphere lead um, fall toward?
Well, let me say this first regarding the first part of what you said. I know Axe, a classy black man, said the same thing, that most of the men in this space aren't like career men, quote unquote. So, and I have to agree. But when I think about it, the men in this space, if you think about it, it's unpopular to consider yourself a Pookie or Ray Ray and or align yourself with Pookies and Ray Rays in this space. So of course, most men would rather say, "Oh, well, kind of congregate with and or kind of group themselves with the educated lanes." But what do you mean by what type of ideology do the men in this space seem to embody?
Okay, so on one side, I see, you know what, black women ain't shit. Fuck black women. These
Mm-hmm.
hoes, these hoes, these hoes. And then on another side, it's like, well, you know, I wasn't really dogged out by a lot of black women, but I do know of some black women that aren't shit. But at the same token, I did do some shit to some women, so they weren't always the culprit of some of my bullshit. Is what I would say that I hear from some of the
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Well, and that brings about you posed a question. I'm sorry, my brain is all over the place. But you posed a question earlier regarding what types of things get blamed on the Pookies and Ray Rays, and that's another one. When we talk about situations where women feel as though they've been dogged out or men ain't nothing, men are dogs, they like to assume and or draw the inference that all of that is coming from you dating a Pookie or Ray Ray, as if working class or educated men, aren't capable of the same things. And that is so not true. Like, that cannot be relegated to just Pookie and Ray Ray. Like, your character has nothing to do with your socioeconomic status or standing. There are men that are top executives that are capable of the exact same thing. In addition, when you become a top executive, you have more access to resources and you're more financially stable. So you're going to attract even more women. So the likelihood might be even greater for you to
Yeah,
do some of the things that, women would consider dogging them out.
yeah, that's absolutely true. Absolutely true. Um, it's kind of like when you see a star that gets accused of something bad, right? Because the star is the star and he has money, I don't see a lot of people put the blame off on the guy with the person with the most money. I see if a person looks a certain way or they have they if they look a certain way, like with let's say the top exec, if he's handsome or whatever, he can pretty much get away with a lot. And I've seen that in real time where
Mm-hmm.
a guy looks good, the better he looks, the more shit he can get away with. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that he's held accountable like the Pookie and Ray Ray are held accountable by um
The black community, or
yeah,
yeah.
and in this space too.
Mm-hmm. I would have to agree with you. You know what I mean? And especially for the guys that are attractive, but even those that aren't, if you have a lot of resources, looks can be secondary for a lot of women. They know, not only if you have the resources, but if you have power. Even if you think of the women within the organization that the man might work, they may think that, I'm going to get a promotion if I sleep with him, or, so when you think about money and power and the how a person can wield it, um, educated lanes or educated black men would have more access to money, wealth, power, and influence than someone in the hood.
Um, Feminist Tears said that Pookie and Ray Ray are celebrated and they aren't held accountable. And what I would say is, I think that now there's a finger pointed at the Pookie and Ray Ray as the dregs of society, as the people who messed up um, a lot of the black community as well as black women. And I'm not saying that the middle of the road guy messed up the community, because I don't think that at all. And I don't think that the middlemen are necessarily, I don't think they're the bad guy, so to speak. But,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a but, um, I do think a lot of things are blamed on Pookies and Ray Rays when a lot of the guys are middle of the men people.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it's some bullshit to put it all off on Pookie and Ray Ray. And I just kind of find that to be bullshit to put it all off
Yeah.
on Pookie and Ray Rays, as opposed to, I don't really feel like middlemen take enough accountability for
Mm-hmm.
their parts in society. In
Yeah,
my
and I see Pookie and Ray Ray being used as scapegoats too. And our Pookie and Ray Ray are not innocent by any stretch of the
no.
imagination. And I'm not insinuating that they are, but we are in the position that we are in. The black community is in the state that it's in by design. Yes, absolutely. There are a plethora of things that we could have done to fight back against the system that kind of led us here, instead of falling in line and doing exactly what needed to be done in order for us to come to this place that we are in. But I can't say that everything that's bad and wrong with the black community can be put on the shoulders of Pookie and Ray Ray. I really, and to be completely honest with you, I think it's a collective effort. Yes, there is probably a larger percentage that might be placed on some parties than others. But even when we think about, the Pookie and Ray Ray, if we had communal protection like there was in certain communities in like the 70s and 80s, where you wasn't coming in their community selling drugs. The men would get together and ensure that you wasn't doing that on their blocks. You know what I mean? There were women and children around, so they wasn't having it, So I just think that there is some shared blame as it relates to the current state of the black community. And I know that some people think that their hands are absolutely clean and they have nothing to do with it. Oh, that's y'all over there. No, we all could have done things to combat the circumstances, and maybe we wouldn't be here. So that's my take on it.
So with the dating choices that black women make, right? Like I said, I do think that a lot of us choose the middle of the man. Hold up. Dane said, "Do I see his comments?" Yeah. Yeah, we can see your comments, Dane. What's the problem? I don't know. Okay. Uh Girl, lost my train of thought. Okay, I was talking about the dating choices of black women, right? Like I said, they think that most black women will be like guy with a good job, own place, own shit, decent looking, and we're like, fuck him. Where's Pookie at? Where those thugs at? And it's like, I don't.
Right. You know what? That's a good point. Feminist Tears just said something about educated lames thinking as though that they are the cleanup man, and I have heard them say that. But when I think about the examples within the Black community of doing like cleanup, they were probably the middle of the road guy. When I think about like men from the different like organizations that were actually out, and even when you think about like the oh my gosh, there's a movement in Detroit, and it's like Detroit 300. Those are like working class Black men, and they are actually providing protection, to communal protection. They're out there patrolling, they're policing their own communities. Like a lot of times it's regular. And even when you think about like the Black Panthers and programs that they would implement to ensure that, children were fed in the mornings before they went to school and stuff, you think about working class Black men. Most of those who that come to mind are men with a revolutionary spirit, men who believed in community and, who had a sense of pride in their community and wanted to ensure that their community wasn't in the state that it's in today. So I don't, there's absolutely a role that educated lames can play in helping and aiding the community, but those aren't the first people that come to mind when I think about community cleanup.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, are you ready to open up the panel?
Let's do it.
Honey, because they already like, y'all got it.
Uh-oh. We got it wrong.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
We'll see, honey. We'll see. Like y'all just blaming y'all trying to group all men into one category. What y'all trying to say?
We're trying to make sure that they understand that there's more than just two categories of Black men. Middle of the road can be quite encompassing. That can encompass a lot of things, as opposed to the narrow category of Pookie and Ray Ray and educated lames. Those are very specific categories and they're very narrow. Middle of the road can encompass a whole lot.
Kev, come on up here since you in the chat saying we calling them lames, because I don't think either one of us called
No, we're using the commonly used terms. We don't think that educated men are lames. Those are the terms that we want to use, terms that you guys understand that, so we're using popular terms that we hear thrown around in this space.
Yes. Hi, Mr. Research. What's going on?
Hey, Mr. Research.
Sister George C. Rose, how are you?